Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff. Thank you, members of the public. I'll declare this special meeting open. For those who are here for the agenda briefing, which is meant to be at 5:30, we are just postponing that to deal with this special meeting first, and we'll convene that meeting as soon as this meeting is done. But I would like to open this meeting, and in doing so, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. And we are hosting this special meeting to do the vote for the Deputy Mayor, noting that we also don't have ballot seating at the moment. We'll be doing that at the conclusion of this meeting as well to determine that sitting. I would also like to acknowledge Sonia Dyer, who's here on behalf of MLA Don Punch. Thank you, Sonia. There are no apologies, we're all here, and I'm assuming there are no declarations of interest. As I indicated, the purpose for this meeting is for Council to appoint the Deputy Mayor for the period from today through to October 2025. The agenda item is there. Before there is a huge amount of information around processes and policy, I might just give my best opportunity to explain this process before we take nominations. We are now using optional preferential voting during this process. There is a nice little graph there for you. Effectively, if we have 2 nominations, which we don't, we have 4, we will go through the process. Obviously, first preference votes. If we get to the quota of 6 votes in that first process, that person will be declared the Deputy Mayor. If we don't get to the quota, it'll be done through the optional preferential voting system, where the lowest vote, first preference voter, will be removed, and any preference that are given will be going through until there is a declared person. If there's no preferences given, those votes are exhausted and the quota changes. So, for example, if there are 2 votes removed, the quota would remove to 5 as 50%. That's as simple as I can make it, but there's obviously a number of different scenarios there. Happy to take any questions on preferential voting for anyone who wants to, if they have any questions now. You don't need to preferential vote. You can vote once, you can vote twice. Sorry, not 2 votes. You can vote 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can go from there. So are there any questions on that before we call for nominations? Okay, I have received nominations from Councillor Smith, Councillor Andrew, Councillor Steele, and I believe we have a nomination from Councillor Steck, who has indicated, but we just need to get that formally in writing, which looks fine there. CEO, that's correct. And we do have a nomination from Councillor Steck. Are there any other nominations? Thank you. We'll just confirm the CEO does that. No further nominations? Okay. Thank you, councillors. Again, want to make sure everyone's comfortable with this. So are we comfortable with the preferential voting? I will be asking the elected members to say a few words in just a moment, but before we get into that, is there any other questions? Thank you. The Manager for Governance is just going to go print off some ballot papers for us. While he's doing that, we'll ask those who have nominated to say a few words, up to 5 minutes, if you need to use all of that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And we'll just ask for those in order of nominations being received. So, Councillor Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, Mr Mayor and councillors. Can I begin by congratulating the re-elected councillors, Councillor Turner and Councillor Kosasek, and the returning Councillor Todd Brown and Councillor Ramesh. I also thank the Council for the privilege of serving as Deputy Mayor for the past 2 years, and naturally I would like to continue for the next 2 years. Thanks also to the Mayor. Thank you for your friendship. I think we've been a good team for the city. I've heard that we need renewal. How much renewal do we need is the question at the moment. We have a new CEO starting in 2 weeks and our numbers have been reduced, and we have a very different council from the last one. It's a really big thing having a new CEO, and it will be a reality as much as we might miss our current CEO. He may not miss us, but we'll miss him. As a consequence, I think we need some continuity in the Deputy Mayor. We also need gender balance and experience. We need to be an inclusive council, and across gender and age, we need to reflect our community. I've never viewed maturity as an impediment, rather as an opportunity to harness experience for the greater good. I believe in continuity. I believe I bring continuity and experience and my contacts to use the city. I was recently told by a very smart person, it's not what you are or who you are, but what you bring to the table. I think I've contributed to this city and have been a member of many committees, including policy, heritage, international representation, senior sits on the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council, and I tell you that was a rather challenging couple of years. On the Parent Naturalist group of councils, and previous to that I was on the Morrissey Homestead Board and represented the city at the Southwest Zone. I've been a volunteer in Bunbury for all of my life. I love this city. I was born just 200 metres from here up the hill, and my family has always believed and contributed to this city. Some of you may know, and this is just one minor thing, well, not so minor, my mother-in-law Evelyn was the dolphin lady. She was the first one in Australia, they say, to make friends and feed the dolphins. What resulted out of that was the Dolphin Discovery Centre, which is a big tourist attraction for Bunbury. And of course, there's other members of my family who have done much for this city. I think we also have to fight hard to keep our reputation as the premier city outside of Perth. And I know how Councillor Steele doesn't like us being called the second city. I think that it's quite right, we should be the premier city outside of Perth. It's going to mean a lot of hard work on the part of this council and coming up with new and innovative ideas and delivering them. I've also some ideas that would chief among them is how we increase our rate base, and we've just had a financial briefing in there which shows precisely where we are on things. And we need to do this without destroying our environment and the amenity of this wonderful place. As a historian, I've studied Bunbury, and it has developed in incremental. It started with the breakwater that created a safe harbour, then it stopped. That was in the 1890s. Then it got the power station in the 1950s and 60s, then it stopped. Then we removed the marshalling yards in the middle of Bunbury, Marsden Hill and all that in the 1980s. It's now time for a new surge. I would like to end by saying that I have assisted councillors in the background on various issues without song and dance, and felt as deputy it was my duty to support the Mayor and look out for councillors' interests. Mr Mayor and councillors, thank you for listening to me and giving me your consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Thank you, Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors, and welcome to the new council, and I'm very much looking forward to working with everybody here in whichever capacity so fit. I'm going to keep this rather shortish, as I don't want to give you a sales pitch on what I've done, because what I want you to do is support me, on my reputation, and for me that's really important. I don't want to tell you what I've done, but I want you to remember the actions and what I've given to each and every one of you, and to this council and to this city. I want to talk about this tie. And you see me wear this tie, and people always have a little bit of a giggle about it, but it's the oldest tie I own. It's not very flash. It's about 1.8 metres long, which makes it very annoying, and usually I have to tie it twice. Tonight I was a bit lucky and got on the first time. But the reason I like this tie is because it is a celebration of community, of diversity, of the many and the one. The reason I became a councillor is because I am passionate about assisting in developing a strong, resilient and respectful community. Because when communities are strong, governments have to govern less. When we empower and support communities, they will drive amazing outcomes, and the less as a council we have to do. Much like this tie, our council is a collective of unique individuals. Each of you here with your own distinct stories, backgrounds, values and skills that you have all brought a diverse perspective to this chamber, all with the common purpose of shaping the future of Bunbury. My commitment to you all is quite simple. With no personal agenda, is to invest as much time as required to support you, to listen, to offer guidance when guidance is sought, and counsel even when it isn't. I want to drive action, positive outcomes for the city, and I will work hard to get the wheels of government spinning just that little bit faster. I pledge to continue working collaboratively with each and every one of you within this chamber, with our executive, our dedicated staff, and most importantly, also the wider Bunbury community. Now, I don't suggest that we must be in complete agreement on all subjects. Disagreements are natural, even healthy. In my time here, there is hardly a person with whom I haven't shared opposing views. However, I firmly believe that by nurturing a council rooted in respect, one where open and robust conversations can transpire, we can collectively build a stronger council. As your Deputy Mayor, let's work hand in hand. Now I'm going to make a comment, and I know some of you won't like it. Let's work together for a Bunbury brighter. Please insert your own personal catchphrase, as hopefully not the Lose Yourself in Bunbury campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Councillor Steele.
I think we're all going to start the same in welcoming our new councillors and our returning councillors tonight, so I do welcome you all. Tonight I ask your vote for Deputy Mayor. I'm not just seeking your vote, but I request your trust, your partnership and your faith that we have shared vision for Bunbury. The role of Deputy Mayor to me signifies more than just a title, it's a commitment to serve. A promise to lead with integrity, to listen and to learn from one another, and to have a dedication to making our city the best it can be. My vision for our city is not one of grand gestures, but of meaningful change. I believe in the power of collaboration, in working together and advocating for shared goals, while embracing each other's diversities along the way. These words I've just spoken also reflect how I feel our community should be treated, and ensuring their voices are heard, where every person feels valued and respected. Equally, I'm enthusiastic about working closely with our neighbouring shires, building strong partnerships to ensure the prosperity of our entire region. As a gateway city to the southwest, we play a pivotal role in connecting communities and driving regional growth. In taking the role of Deputy Mayor, I bring with me a sincere passion for our community, deeply rooted in a deep sense of belonging and commitment to Bunbury. I'll bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to the role. My diverse experience acquired during my time as an elected member, as well as in various aspects of my life and in my work, have provided me with the necessary knowledge and understanding to effectively tackle the challenges and make the most of the opportunities that await us. Over the years as elected member, I've witnessed positive changes in our community, and these last 2 years in particular have reinvigorated my dedication, and I'm genuinely excited about the positive changes that have occurred and those that lie ahead. I approach this responsibility not as a duty, but as a heartfelt aspiration to leaving a lasting impact on the lives of our community. I'm confident in the strong and respectful relationship I share with the Mayor, built through our supportive experience as fellow councillors and during the Mayor's time as Deputy Mayor, and for the last 2 years under his leadership as Mayor. Our working relationship has strengthened further. I'm grateful for the respect from the Mayor, and I'm also grateful for the respect I've earned from our dedicated staff. With this strong foundation of mutual respect and support, I'm certain that our teamwork will be dynamic, progressive and highly successful, leading to positive changes within our community and our city. With the appointment of the new CEO, we are entering into a new chapter filled with opportunities, some of which have already been set in motion under our current CEO. I'll just pause to say thank you now. And as we've just discussed next door with Mr. Ranson, we're in a phase where there are several exciting projects and initiatives that have the potential to reshape our community and enhance the lives of our residents. We have exciting potential projects such as the Ocean Pool, a venture that not only has the potential to enrich the recreational opportunities for our community, but also bolster our tourism sector. We have in pipeline the establishment of the new Tourism Working Group, which will help showcase the diverse beauty and the unique experiences Bunbury has to offer, attracting visitors from far and wide, boosting our local economy and fostering a sense of pride among our residents. And furthermore, I'm excited about the possible expansion of our art gallery, a project that reflects our dedication to culture, creative and community involvement. Collaborating with the Mayor, I will advocate at all government levels for support to move these projects from planning reality while ensuring fiscal responsibility. I want you to know that if you elect me, I'm fully committed to working tirelessly alongside each of you. I'm here because I believe in the incredible potential of our city and its people. I'm here because I have a genuine passion to make a difference to the lives of our residents of Bunbury. And with your support, I have full confidence that I'll be a supportive Deputy Mayor to both our Mayor and to my fellow councillors. Together as a united team, we can contribute positively to our incredible community. And so I'm grateful tonight for your consideration, and I'm excited about the journey ahead and the positive changes we can achieve together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. And Councillor Steck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, probably I won't take 5 minutes because I think everyone's already got their votes organised. Firstly, I want to thank the community because they have had faith in me since 2006. That's an extraordinary effort from everyone in this room to the entire community. And I've dedicated a big chunk of my life to local government and previously 4 years in Collie. So there's no question that my integrity and my efforts have always been about community. What I'd like to say is simply this: thank you to the new councillors and the returning councillors and the new ones. I wish you all the best. I really, really do. And I've always supported councillors, always. So I'm still here and I'm still here for you. I believe Bunbury is a really exciting place to live, and there's a lot of people looking at Bunbury, and development is going to go kabang in this place in the next 5 years. And we will see an enormous amount of investment into Bunbury. And I have bring connections to Bunbury for that reason. I'm also excited that the Bunbury Cup is going to be bigger and better this year, and I'm proud to say that I've been part of that. I'm proud to say I've got a bank who's coming in and setting up their own marquee. I'm proud to say that, you know, I've spent months working with Mr. Brian Rettinger to get the tourism side of things up, and we've got a huge strategy for that. And I know that economic development is going to be massive. So I look forward to working with you, and I please wish you would vote for me.
Thank you, Councillor Steck, and thank you for the 4 of you for nominating. So we are ready to vote. Mr. Galinsky, I won't be conducting the election. I'll be asking the CEO to be the returning officer and working with the manager of governance, the minute taker. They'll be using the computer to go through this. Again, councillors, optional preferential voting. You may vote once or preferential through there. Thank you. Trying a bit of paper. Do you need paper? Great.
through Mr Mayor, on the primary vote, we have two nominations, which both have received 2 votes, so they will now go into a ballot to have one of those drawn to be excluded, and then preferences allocated.
Thank you. Not sure. Preferential voting, eh?
Science. So the first ball drawn out is to be excluded.
Sure.
Won't announce the name,
No.
just go through the preferences.
Yes. Yep.
So, Mr Mayor, through the distribution of preferences, Councillor Smith is hereby duly elected.
You stand up now for round. Oh, I'm getting seats going, sorry.
Just do the swearing in.
I, Trespass Smith of 8 Picton Crescent, Bunbury, to be elected to the office of Deputy Mayor for the City of Bunbury, declare that I take the office upon myself and truly, faithfully, honestly, with integrity, fulfil the duties of the office to the people of the district according to the best of my judgment and ability, and will observe the code of conduct adopted by the City of Bunbury and the section 5.104 to Local Government Act 1995.
Welcome, Deputy Smith. Thank you, councillors. We now do the seat draw, the all-important seat draw. I'll stay here. Obviously, as we discussed, the deputy mayor will be sitting here, and then seats 1 through 9 will be there. So starting with 1, I'm assuming, CEO. Away we go.
Right, you might be on this side of me.
Thank you. Seat 2.
Councillor Steele.
Councillor Steele, don't go fast. Seat 3.
Councillor Ramesh.
Councillor Ramesh. Seat 4.
Councillor Kozisek.
Councillor Kozisek. Stay there. Seat 5.
Councillor Gassett.
Councillor Gassop. Thank you. Seat 6 is where Councillor Gassop just came from. Yep. So.
Councillor Quain.
Councillor Quain, seat 6. There we go. Seat 6 just next to Karen there. Seat 7.
Councillor Andrew.
Councillor Andrew. Seat 8. Good number. 8, Councillor Turner.
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brown in seat 8. Councillor Turner. It should be in seat 9. That is your spot.
Councillor Turner.
Councillor Turner. Thank you, councillors. We will just allow just a couple of moments to just remove that before we get in the agenda brief. We'll reconvene at 6 p.m, so in 3 minutes' time. But I'll just allow for the CEO and that to go. So thank you very much. I'll declare this special council meeting closed, and we'll be back for the agenda briefing very shortly. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will commence this agenda briefing, and for those who haven't attended an agenda briefing before, this is not a formal meeting, not a decision-making meeting, an opportunity to go through the agenda in front of us and to ask any questions on that agenda. I would like to, we do just have a notice for a deputation for an item later in the agenda. Given that we have a number of committees to sort of go through which may require a few discussion points, we might jump to that item earlier, so those who are there for that item can deal with that one Was there any declarations of interest before we get started on tonight's agenda, councillors? Councillor Steele?
Just that I do know someone that's has nominated to go on one of external groups. He's a friend of mine I used to go to school with.
Yep, if you would like to declare an impartial interest, if that's your call, and we can just maybe get to that when we go to that one. Thank you, Councillor Steele. Okay, no problems. If that's the case, councillors, we're going to jump all the way down to item 10.4.1. Sorry, Councillor Brown.
I'd like to declare an impartiality interest for one of the communities as well. I've got 2 daughters on that community.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Brown. So councillors, we're just going to jump all the way down to 10.4.1 and we'll come back up to this because we have received a deputation request from Canella Hope on this item. So I will just ask Canella to join us. As per our standing orders, I have the ability to approve a deputation in this meeting, which I will. So Canella, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing our item forward. Good evening, councillors. I'm here with my client, Andrew Harris, who is the owner of the Parade Hotel in East Bunbury. I'm probably going to be quite brief, but we really wanted to take this opportunity at the briefing session simply to outline the scheme amendment and give you a bit of background to it. Firstly, we've worked closely with officers right from the beginning of the process, both from the City and also the Department of Planning, to shape this. We see this proposed scheme amendment largely as administrative, but also quite opportunistic. The Parade Hotel and the local centre zone that covers a broader area there are all within such a fabulous location on the inlet. As you know, it's such a beautiful area and it attracts so much of our community, but also tourists. Whether it's walking, riding, out on the water, as well as visiting the Parade Hotel and the other businesses that are there. The scheme amendment that you'll be considering next week seeks to apply a site-specific additional use control just on the Parade Hotel site. It's only a change to this site. It doesn't affect any of the rest of the local centre zone here or elsewhere across the city. The Parade Hotel already enjoys a non-conforming use right to operate here, whereas this amendment is going to change that to become an A use and also extend this formally, where it already informally occurs, over the hotel car park. As you know, the Parade Hotel has been here for around 100 years, and it's been on the same title with the hotel car park, even though physically it's split in 2 parts by the Austral Parade for a very long time. Recently, Andrew amalgamated this broader title with the former TAB building that's on the eastern side of the hotel, but this was a pretty minor change and it simply brought all of the hotel land, some smaller parts, into this one single title. The Parade Hotel and the area around here, as I said, is in the local centre zone, and this already allows for quite a variety of land uses, such as shop or multiple dwellings. So in addition to making a hotel an A use, this amendment also seeks to allow for a development approval to be sought for motel and service department. The hotel car park, for example, it's already has an R code R100, so it could already have apartments built there up to around 3 to 4 stories in height. Although there's no plans right at the moment to do that on the hotel car park, it's this type of mixed-use, multi-storey development in such a prime location that's really desirable, and it lends itself to motel and service department, as well as apartments for people to reside in all the time. And as most of you would be aware, the city already has some policies in place about this, about apartments being flexibly used for short-term or permanent accommodation. This said, the report that you've got only seeks to have the amendment advance to advertising and create an opportunity to apply for a DA in the future. It doesn't mean that's going to result. As you know, any application for development approval still has to meet necessary thresholds such as design, parking, visual, amenity impacts before it might gain approval. In any event, my client Andrew is committed to the success of the Parade Hotel, and that's evident in its popularity and his ongoing investment into it. He simply seeks this amendment to capture the potential of what might be possible in time across his whole land holding. That's me covered. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Both Andrew and I are available if anyone has any questions over the next week. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. Councillors, any questions on this item? All okay, thank you. And if the offer's there to take anything up with Canella or Andrew, thank you guys. Thank you for attending. We'll just move back up to item 10.3.1. Schedule the accounts paid. Any questions, councillors? Thank you. 10.3.2. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Gassett? And sorry, before you go as well, we will just note, councillors, you will note that your microphones aren't allocated over yet. That'll be done once that's all sorted. Sorry, Councillor Gassett. Yep. Yeah, push that. It'll just be, it is the correct
Mine
name.
works.
No, don't worry. They're already one step ahead of me. They're onto it.
We're ahead of the curve. Mr Mayor, just on page 82 in the red, it's been a pretty substantial SWOT analysis made. So I just wanted to ask a question on 4 items in there: strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. So positive culture is a strength. On the other hand, financial literacy is a weakness. So I'm just wondering, I'll give you the 4 questions, maybe you can answer them. Weakness at the same time is a workforce, or has we've got a positive culture? The other one, interestingly, regional collaboration on services and community, infrastructure and amalgamation. I'm just curious, if we've got any sort of expansion or clarification on some of those things? Or do you want me to ask more detailed questions?
I'll see if the CEO's got a direct response to that straight away. It's probably best come from the CEO on that, but we might just need a more direct question, but I'll just see if the CEO has a response, 82 CEO. So, I mean, it just sort of was a couple of questions sort of come into one. Have you got a really sort of a direct question there, Councillor Gassett?
Okay. So, financial literacy. Is there any scope to improve financial literacy? And I'm guessing this is amongst the workforce, not necessarily the councillors. And what scope is there to improve, to push harmful, in the SWOT analysis, for the workforce out of harmful into an opportunity or into a strength? That's one question.
Sure. So the question is just around that weakness in financial literacy as a weakness, CEO, and through the workforce in there as well.
Through you, Mr Mayor. I think the SWOT analysis has identified where we can improve, where the organisation can improve, and those areas that have been identified as potential weaknesses are areas that I think there's already some significant amount of work being, addressed to improve financial literacy across the organisation. Quite often the strength of the financial literacy is probably higher in the organisation, whereby we're trying to move that ability for staff to understand implications of any decision in a financial sense throughout the whole organisation. So it is a work in progress. I guess the SWOT analysis is designed to pick up on those areas where there are either opportunities, and again in that lower left-hand quadrant, Councillor Gassett has talked about regional collaboration and also amalgamation, where further work in those 2 areas, whether it be a formal decision or whether it is simply liaison and collaboration, is seen as a significant opportunity for Bunbury and the organisation.
Maybe just a follow-up, if I could, on that question. I guess this being the strategy, would that opportunity to potentially report back on some of this SWOT analysis in the future be the plan to come back and say, well, these are some of the areas of which we've highlighted and here's some of the work happening in that space? CEO?
I'm going to defer to Ms Strawn just to address that particular reporting mechanism.
Yes, for sure. We'll be tracking what actions we can identify to address these things. Also, furthermore, to speak to your question around the workforce, Councillor Gassep, you rightly point out that the one is under strengths and the other one's under weaknesses. The one that speaks to weaknesses is about finding those workforce people that we need to fill particular gaps. As you're probably aware, there's a lot of competition out there. Finding the right resources sometimes is a challenge where we need to advertise even twice. The workforce under strengths is that the workforce we do have is particularly good. You were unfortunately not in the presentation today by our digital team, but just seeing that team in action is testament to that the workforce we are getting is absolutely amazing, and that's a strength.
A follow-up question, Councillor Gassep? Or another question, I should say? Next item. Any other questions on this item 10.3.2, councillors? Thank you, and thanks for that report to the staff. That's good. 10.3.3 is the performance metrics analyst report. Councillor Gassep, was this the one you had a question on? Just Mike, thanks, Councillor Gassep.
On page 99. So the culture and productivity. It appears from reading that, there has been some improvement, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I'm just wondering what might be in place. If you look at the first circle, the amount of red there, next one, and the amount of red there, and then the future, which is the desired outcome. I know there's one in between, so I'm just wondering what are we looking at doing with our organisational culture and maybe behaviour, organisational behaviour, to see if we can shift those reds into the blues and greens.
Councillor Gassep, we'll get the CEO response. I know there was I know you were an apology, there was a workshop the other day which did highlight, and I'm just wondering if that workshop was recorded. It might be a good opportunity for Councillor Gassep to have a look at that. If not, we might be able to provide some of the information, but I do know some of the information come back to say that the future ideal culture is sometimes not in this case, potentially not actually a realistic or achievable outcome. So there was conversation about continually shifting that, but the ideal culture may not be something that may be achievable, and sometimes having some of that red and green is sometimes a good thing. But I might refer to the CEO, and because I know the director explained this very well last time, that's a very similar question come up, but I'll ask the CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll have the director provide a bit more detail, but just to give a bit more clarity that the organisation's about to go out for our next survey. The survey is going out to staff on the 7th of November, and we'll have those results back around about February. But I'll pass over to Ms Strawn just to give a bit more detail around what work is happening to move the colours.
Through the chair, if you ask the question like that, I get very excited because I'm passionate about this. As you rightly have seen, the red has not shifted enough yet, but it has shifted, and you can see the blue has shifted. We obviously would like the blue behaviour, which is constructive and people focused behaviour. Red and green would be more your passive and aggressive defensive behaviour, which we would love to see less of. And as the Mayor has alluded, we have already identified that our future scenario we've created many years ago is not quite realistic. One does need some red, where you actually have to exert some competitive power and positional power as well in some cases. And in other cases, the avoidance behaviour, passive-aggressive, by choice, one sometimes needs to step aside and not necessarily confront things. So there needs to be a bit more balance. Overall, the city is as a whole very excited by the moves we have seen. It's a long journey. It can take 10 years to get to where one wants to be. And having achieved that in 2 to 3 years already does show we're shifting in the right direction.
Thank you. And looking forward to those updated responses next time. And Councillor Gassipa was also indicated that council might want to do some of this survey work as well, which I think there was a bit of interest from elected members at the time and something that we'll be discussing coming up. Any other questions? Another question?
Just a sort of half statement question.
Oh,
in
no.
that when, you know, I do read all the reports of these briefings in detail. So my question, are you aware, Mr Mayor, that my question is actually also to make the public aware of what's going on for transparency?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Gassipa. Is there any other questions on this, Councillor Stack?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to highlight on page 101, the concerning of the negative ratio 2463, well, it's closer to 25%, and we're not going to be above zero for 7 years. So I'll probably ask the staff or the CEO in particular, how are we going to reduce our operating expenditure? Or what methods are we going to
we have been
incorporate?
talking about ratios a little bit, but I'll let the CEO have a crack at that one.
So, through you, Mr Mayor, the how, spend less. The difficult part is spending less on what? So I think this is part of the optimisation work that the city is entering into with a number of elected members sitting on that working group, and also, I guess, trying to manage expectations within the community about where funds are actually expended. So if you can't reduce expenditure, we need to increase revenue to offset that, and that's the dilemma of the city when there's not substantial growth at this point in time. But nonetheless, I think that Mr Ransom presented a very good document this afternoon at the strategic briefing session. Happy to sit down probably offline and have a bit further conversation around some of the detail within that.
That optimisation working group met for the first time today and realising there's a number of things that could come into it. That group will be certainly briefing council as we go along as well, with the various changes or, well, in the end of the day, anything adopted is going to have to be adopted through council, so we'll certainly be bringing those conversations to full council as we go along. Any further questions on this item, councillors, on item 10.3.3? Thank you. So, councillors, we just have the committees and working groups at the moment. So, for those who aren't aware, there is the whiteboard in the Marion Hudson room at the moment. It's not a commitment to anything to be part, but it's just more of just gauging some interest. As you'll see on there, there's a number of working groups that have a huge amount of interest already, and some that don't have much at all. But it's just allowing to have some of that conversation offline to might make things easier for next week. It's not a commitment, but if you've got an interest in it, we're going to just jot those down on the whiteboard. You don't have to, but it just might make that conversation go. I will probably just ask, just so for new councillors and potentially existing councillors who might not be familiar with a number of these groups, just for the current or the previous chair, just to give a very quick 30-second, 1-minute overview on the group. And I know it's always asked as well, but the meeting times, knowing that the actual group can determine those when they meet, but just what it's been previously. CEO?
Can I just make a request, Mr Mayor? We've got 2 planning staff for one other planning item. Could we adjust the agenda, deal with that?
Sure. That makes sense.
Then we can spend a bit of time on the other.
Absolutely. I am worried about the members of the public, but not our staff. So we'll go to item 10. We'll postpone that for a moment. We'll go to item 10.4.2. It's a very good suggestion. Thank you, CEO. On these 2 planning matters, if there are any questions of staff for these 2. Item 10.4.2, which is the scheme amendment. Any questions? Thank you. Item 10.4.3. Any questions? Don't go too quickly. We do have a question. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Ms. Up. Councillor Steele?
With the car park, are they running away?
No, Felicity's got this down there.
I know I brought up an email and I've said it, but I do want it on record that somehow I want it written in there that Albemarle, if we do ever want to build on there, that they will have to contribute. We're giving a big parcel of land away. Well, no, we're not actually giving it away. I retract that. But they're obviously paying for it. But it is our prime location to do our multi-deck car park, and I do get concerned if they are there for a long time and they.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just for the record, CEO, if we were looking to develop this site, what that process would be.
Thank you, and Ms Anderson may have something further to add, but through the process of this lease, the redevelopment clause has been included. And so it's very clear that if the city or the council did decide to do a redevelopment of that site, there's a 12-month clause, in which case Albemarle would need to vacate the site and surrender the lease. And I think the only other, not stipulation, but request from Albemarle was that the city would use its best endeavours to find them replacement parking should that redevelopment occur. And at that stage, it'd be conversations with not only that company, but perhaps others in terms of potential investment into any new construction.
Thank you. All good? Thank you. Still recorded in some capacity. Any other questions on this item? Thank you. We will run back up to those committees. I won't say what I just said again. That's now given those chairs the opportunity to have a very quick think about what they're at to. As I said, councillors, very quick, just a very quick overview. And then if there's any questions on each one, we'll deal with each committee. But the Bunbury Harvey Regional Council, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Smith, would you like to just give us a very quick overview, very quickly?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We normally meet about 4:15 on a Thursday afternoon unless we've got a special meeting.
How often?
Pardon?
How often?
How often? Once a month normally, and unless we've got a special meeting, and we meet out at Wellesley at Stanley Road itself. The committee is made up of 2 councillors of Shire of Harvey and 3 from the City of Bunbury.
Good. Any questions on this committee, councillors? Thank you. I'll also note that under our policies, if I do want to be on one of these committees, I do have that authority. Where other positions will have to vote on if there's an excess, we do have the option to update the terms of reference on some, not all. The Southwest Country Zone, I have been the representative for the last 2 years, and I probably do intend to continue that. For background, that meets 6 weekly, monthly, 2 monthly. I have, but that's obviously a meeting of the 12 zones for the Southwest Country Zone, and we meet at different locations each time. Any questions on that one, Councillor Gassett? Observer, yeah, absolutely observer, and last year there was a number of times when I couldn't make it for other things, so if you are, whoever plans to be the deputy, they probably will be called upon a few times as well. The Bunbury Regional Theatre member, I think, was Councillor Yip previously, so that position will be, I don't have a chair for that at the moment, who has served on that committee previously. Councillor Steele, just very quickly.
Quite a while ago, though.
Okay.
It's quite a number, and I think they met, and I don't know, it might have changed. I think that was on a Thursday, and it was evenings, by what I can remember. I'm not quite sure if that has changed. And that was actually a very nice little monthly. Oh, no, yeah, I don't even know if it was monthly. I think it might have been bi-monthly, even when I was on it, to be honest. But yeah, it was so long ago now
Yep.
that I can't.
I guess if there are some interest to this and you do want to get some more information, councillors, feel free to flick an email out and we can get that information as well. And I will just, stand corrected, these being the external committees, I'm actually not automatically appointed. That's only for our internal committees or our council committees, so that will be voted on if somebody wants to be on one of those. The Bunbury Alcohol Accord Group, who is our previous representative on that, Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Generally, usually meets on Tuesday mornings, 9:30 to 11:30ish. The alcohol accord's obviously chaired by the city. We meet with a large group of representatives from the, liquor and gaming industry, and it's a thoroughly good time. Usually you go from venue and it's very interesting, mixing a lot with the police and getting updates from police as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steele, quick question. Yeah. How often, Councillor Andrew?
Somewhat ad hoc.
Ad hoc. Councillor Steele?
I agree, it's a very interesting one. Are people allowed to just, are councillors allowed to attend that as observers? Do you know? Yeah, 'cause that's very interesting.
Thank you. The senior sits, I think Councillor McCleary may have been, it was you, yes. Yep.
It meets once a month at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning.
Once a month, Friday
Once a
mornings.
month, 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Yep.
Very good. Questions on that, councillors? Thank you. The Bunbury Port Community Consultation Committee. Councillor Gass was our representative who... Quarterly. Do you remember what days? Sorry, do you remember what days and time, Councillor Gassett?
About quarterly, and it's about 2 hours, normally after,
Day of the week?
can't remember.
Can't
what
recall.
days. I think it is ad hoc as well,
Okay.
Yeah.
A number of these ones are any...
normally after hours, yeah.
Thank you. Dolphin Discovery Centre, I think was Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last Thursday of the month, usually, about 5:30 p.m. at the DDC. It's a board of management over the facility, which means usually go quite deep into the weeds.
Questions on that one, councillors? They usually have good food. Good food? Fish? Jewfish. Morrissey Homestead Board. This was Councillor McCleary. I think we may have had a vacancy there for a little while as well. And these, Councillor Plum, that's may away with this.
I was a previous representative. It met monthly, usually at lunchtime. Sorry? Is that on a Wednesday? Could vary.
We'll follow that one up. I know they I think have expressed some concern or interest previously about making sure we have representatives on there. Again, these are external committees, so if there is no interest, we can write to them to say we won't be on there, but it's probably good we continue. Sure. So as I said, if there's any...
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I interrupt. I think it was a Monday. When
Okay.
I was on it, it was Monday.
Yeah, Councillor Smith, we'll get some confirmation. We're probably just jumping in a bit there, councillors, so we'll just bring that in and back a bit. But we will, again, certainly those that anyone of interest in, please sending an email would be great, and we'll get that. The Parent Naturalist Partnership,
That's me, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Smith.
Met every couple of months, but it could be either in Mandurah, Rockingham, often at the Dolphin Discovery Centre. And the second last one I went up with, I was driven by Councillor Rosina Mogg of the Shire of Capel to Mandurah. So you've got to travel around a bit for that. Usually starts at 11 a.m.
You know what days this has been the best thing if we could.
Usually Fridays. Yeah.
It might just be easiest for maybe just prepare a spreadsheet if we could get something of those through there, what they've been. Certainly these external ones are generally, we don't have any control over those, so if we get those, as that our internal committees do have a little bit of flexibility. The Regional Capitals WA, so that one is actually a request for the Mayor, to be honest, so that will be me, and there's a fair chance I'll end up being chair of that group at their AGM in December. The Southwest Regional Road Group.
That was Betty, but I have previously.
Councillor McCurry, yep.
I have actually gone to that, and I've just found out the day from Mr Harris. Tuesdays? Mondays, Mondays, mornings, and it goes for a couple of hours usually.
Very good.
I like that one too. It's interesting because it involves all the councillors around the area that have inputs in the roads.
Thank you. The Bunbury Geographic Economic Alliance is another one where I'm invited to be on that. We're just chasing a deputy for that. They meet, we meet monthly. There is a number of local governments and industry on that group. I know there's also been some requests for that group to give a presentation, which I believe is in the works of what they're currently up to, which will provide that soon. South 32 Community Liaison Committee. Councillor Gasson.
So that's quarterly as well. Weekdays, working hours, generally focused around Worsley Lumina, but in meetings mostly in Collie or around the Collie area. It's about 3 or 4 hours a day. It's a good committee.
Thank you. Questions on that? Councillor Turner? Day and time?
Quarterly, it's ad hoc, and during the week and during work hours, 3 to 4 hours a day, a meeting. I know, it varies,
Yep.
They just
Well,
decide at the meeting, they decide when the next one is.
What we'll do with these external ones, we'll see if we can get at their meetings over the last year. Just a very brief summary for those ones of when they have been for elected members.
We'll only be able to advise of current arrangements.
Yes. And bearing in mind, especially the ones that involve all the regional ones are probably all likely to have a bit of a change with all councils going through this process at the moment as well. So they may change around days. Okay, great. That's the external committees. Any other questions on those external committees?
Mr Mayor,
Councillor
the
Steck?
newly formed tourism working group, tourism and economic development, is not listed in here.
Yep, that may be in the next one in the working groups, I think, Councillor Steck. It is, yep. So item 10.3.5 is our working groups. That's okay. There is some different sections here. So councillors, the community funding panel, there was a few of us on that last year. I was part of that. Karen Turner, part of it, and Councillor Steele. This group is just looking at the funding for community tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1. One of the funding allocations for the event funding rounds that comes through anyway, as a number of these ones are that we have there. So separate to the Bunbury Events Committee, which we'll deal with in the next one, which deals with the iconic events. This is some of the more community grant funding rounds. Councillor Quain, you were on this actually from memory. No, this one was the community funding panel. Yep. Yep. So this group, it's done ad hoc. It's twice a year. The work is done online through a process, and then you meet to go through those and appoint the funding to the community rounds of funding.
Can I just stipulate though, it does take time
It does take, yes,
out
sorry.
of your time to do the Smarty Grants applications, to read each and every one. I think we're lucky last time that there was only amount of people, that we had enough money to support everybody, so we didn't have to do that much work. But on previous occasions, it does take time on, to read them all.
Effectively, it's like
Yeah.
a tendering process, councillors. So the applications come through and you rate them through a tendering process. The arts and development grant funding, I assume is very similar. Yeah, it's the same format from that as well. The public art assessment panel is one councillor who was on that previously, Councillor Kozisek.
Sorry. Not generally any meetings. Usually I just get a document from the gallery, the suggestions for an acquisition, and you either sign off on it or you don't. It doesn't take a lot of time, to be honest.
Councillor Steele?
Can I just ask the question as why there is only one councillor on that? Nothing against you,
Yeah,
Councillor
that's
Kozisek, but what if, to me, could be quite biased if there's only one. If there is some sort of, I'm sorry, I don't really know it that well either. So if you
Sure.
could explain.
I'll ask the
as to
CEO maybe just to
how-
clarify
yes.
that one, and 3 and 4 probably Councillor Steele.
Mr Mayor, I'm not actually aware of the background as to why there's only the one, but there's no reason why there should not be either more than one or a deputy appointed. I think we have all our elected members as deputies, but I'll have to have a look at the, Mr. Galinsky. He's got the answer.
Perhaps I'll make up what I don't know. Through you, Mr. Mayor, with the first 4 panels there, they actually exist as a result of a council policy. So they're established under the terms of that policy, and that policy will stipulate that there's 1 elected member, 2 elected members. So it's obviously, as the CEO pointed out, within the council's role to make that change, should it so wish.
My only query is only because of the acquisition one, if you've only got one councillor acquiring art and they have a genre of art that they like, but I suppose, I'm assuming though the panel, the acquisition is made up of people within the art gallery as well.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would imagine the director would be on it. and-
I do, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that terms of reference in front of me. But we'll just, I think it's here, isn't it? So the director, the curator, and the councillor, I believe. Nothing else to add, councillor Kozisek, to the?
Basically, as a councillor, you don't get an awful lot of say. And, you know, rightly so, the director and the curator know what they're doing, so they come to you with a suggestion of what they would like to purchase. And yes, to be honest, in all my time on it, there's only one that I didn't agree with, but they bought it anyway, so, you know, they didn't listen to me, it's okay.
Thank you. The Bunbury Regional Art Gallery Advisory Group, that's obviously a newly formed one. It was Councillor Yip and Councillor McCleary, who are both no longer with us, but they were the group who were working towards the council decision previously to reinstate that group and continue those discussions.
Mr Mayor, is there any opportunity to expand that with another councillor?
We can change anything next week, yes? And then the Community Safety Advisory Group, so myself, Councillor Gassett and Councillor Turner and Councillor Quain. Must have been 4 of us on that. There was 4 of us on that anyway. So that group is obviously continuing the work from the Community Safety Advisory Group that was adopted the work last week. And as was indicated, the reporting mechanism is back against that report going forward and reporting against some of those action points. They probably don't really have a meeting schedule at this time. I think the first iteration was to reporting back on that on a 6-monthly basis, but it might be shorter for the actual group. It might have been 6 monthly for council. Do you remember, CEO, how often they were going to be reporting back to that group? That will be ad hoc. Yeah, and that will be fairly ad hoc. That also has a number of external groups on that advisory group as well. So I would likely be during office hours. CEO. I'll just wait for the CEO to come back because this is probably your question, Councillor Stecker, around the Tourism and Events Working Group. CEO, just that. So this, the Tourism and Events Working Group, is that not part of this agenda item?
No, Mr Mayor, I think there's I haven't got that on the next page, I think page down in the agenda. That'll come back as a standalone item to the following round. Given
sorry.
We're out late for community representation because it only went through council at the last meeting.
Can I just ask, when will the community round close? So when are you closing applications?
CEO?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that date, but we'll find that offline and get that date for you.
Soon.
Thank you,
we
because
will.
the ad was not on the community focus page. It was a calling for nominations, but it didn't have the close date on it. And the intention is that that committee will meet fortnightly, and they will be 2-hour meetings. So I'm sorry to give you a heads up, but staffing might be an issue.
But if, how can you stipulate that if it actually hasn't come?
Yeah, well, look, we'll deal with.
Because we've developed the terms of reference, we've developed the strategy, and I've spent a good 4 months doing it with Mr Rettiger. We've mapped it out through to April. We're a very organised committee. We're very focused, and it'll be fizzling out after April, I would say, because we'd get it all done after that.
Thanks, Councillor Stecker. That group, as is indicated there, will come back to council once that advertising period and a decision has been made. at that stage. On to the next one. This is the council committees I was referring to. The audit committee, which is surprisingly a number of names on the board inside already. Chair of that was Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Generally met on Tuesdays, but it did jump around during the year depending on commitments with external auditors by memory. I find it very insightful, especially the work our internal auditor does. Gives you a really good snapshot into what the city is up to. So it's really worthwhile putting your name forward.
Thank you.
Yes.
These ones obviously being council committees, we do have the ability to potentially work around days a little bit easier for councillors. Bearing in mind it's quite often though, or it is always having staff there, so it'll generally be during staff hours or very close to staff hours. And as you'll note, a number of these committees also have external representation as well. So any questions on that or any other items on the audit committee? Thank you. The Youth Advisory Council is 2 non-voting members, and that was Councillor Quain and Councillor Yip. Councillor Quain, just a very quick summary, I think.
So we generally met in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, and we generally met every couple of months.
Sort of 6 weeks, 2 months, yeah, on Wednesday afternoons.
Yeah, and it was very insightful and got to understand what the YAC, what their motivations were and what they were trying to achieve. So, as an observer, I found it quite interesting.
Questions on this one, councillors? Thank you. The Bunbury Event Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Basically, realistically, it's a funding body and you, again, use Smarty Grants. You go through those applications and you assess them. We always do not have enough money. We always have more applications than we can deal with, to be honest. It meets Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and when the funding rounds are there, that's where you do your bulky work. Otherwise, it's quarterly or as needed.
Thank you. Councillor Steck, any questions on that one?
It does. Because of the sheer amount of applications, it's a gruelling process and you do need to put some effort into it.
Thank you, Councillor Steck. The CEO Performance Review Panel, I chair that one, and obviously we're reviewing the CEO, not the CEO, the new CEO. All of this report, and most of these, in fact, I think the Events Advisory Committee may be the only one that doesn't, but most of them, all their recommendations come back to council anyway, obviously including this CEO Performance Review. We will workshop the CEO KPIs with all elected members, but this group will do some of the grunt work in that, in discussions and negotiating with the CEO as part of that group. It used to be 5 members and a member of the CEO's choosing, but that seems to have gone now. Just 6 members. No, I think we might have actually changed it and previously said, well, it's normally quite ad hoc, that one. It's not a regular meeting. It's to obviously, we have the consultant who works with us on that. That'll be reviewed. That consultant has 1 year left on their current term, and we'll obviously be reviewing that. So it's around, obviously, reviewing the KPI performances, and then, as I said, negotiating with staff. So it is very much ad hoc, that, and that'll be, because that panel is only committee members or councillors, it's very much easily to be arranged to work with all councillors in that thing. We'll only have 1 staff member joining. Yep. Yeah, very much so. No, won't need it. The Disability Access and Inclusion Committee, Councillor Andrew, Councillor Turner.
Day did we meet? Oh, I'm having a mind blank. Wednesdays? No, Wednesdays afternoons. And usually about 4:15, 4:30. And meetings normally don't go for long. It's more around policies and plans not so much hands-on of changing, it's hard to get things changed, but CODAP is the other panel that has lived experience that does more so in regards to looking at plans of buildings and that beforehand. So, no, but it's interesting, absolutely.
Questions on that one, councillors? Thank you. The Heritage Advisory Committee, councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a fun committee, particularly because of the very passionate people that are usually nominated for this. It usually begins at 4 p.m. I think it's a Wednesday. Is that right? I think so. Wednesday, yeah, 4 p.m. Yeah. It's like herding cats. It's a very interesting committee, and it's a statutory committee, and its decision have to come here to council for ratification. Thank you.
Sure, councillor.
Just noticed that it's got Todd Brown's name on there instead of, I think it's Marina who is on there. Yeah, and Cheryl, but it's got Todd Brown and Treslin on there.
Hold on, Tony, was in here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, that's going
On
back.
page
That's going back a
118.
bit.
Councillor Brown, you've got straight into it. We'll get that one cleaned up, thank you. Any questions on that one, councillors? Thank you. The Policy Review and Development Committee, councillor Kozisek.
That's usually on a Wednesday morning about 10 o'clock, hour and a half, monthly, more 2 monthly, wasn't it? Yeah. Really interesting committee. It's about us looking at our policies and reviewing them, and if they need changing or updating, this is our opportunity. So
Sure.
I've
And
enjoyed that. Yeah.
I think for any councillors that haven't had a chance to be on that committee before, it's certainly a good one I'd encourage, because obviously all of our policy shapes some of our decision-making process, and it's good to have a look through that. The 8 was the International Relations Committee. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Met on a Monday at 4 p.m. This probably needs to be reconstituted in a way. I notice there's been one applicant, so we probably need to talk about what we do with a very important committee.
Sure.
Thank you.
I notice there's only one applicant there and no applicants for the, what was it, one of them, Disability Access Committee, so, yeah.
Heritage.
Okay. Questions on the international?
Sorry, can I just interrupt? I didn't get anything for nominations for that.
So the only ones that have had a actual matrix, I think, where then there was a preferred candidate. I think that one
Oh,
had.
okay. Yep.
Oh, no, sorry, that didn't have any. Request the CEO to re-advertise for the vacant committee members.
Yeah, okay.
Noting there was only one application received for that, as the Disability Access didn't have any. Yeah. So effectively, as is indicated in there, that we'll be re-advertising that to get some more interest rather than the one that is currently there. Was that Valda? Was that Valda? Valda. I'm sure Valda's probably watching online. Okay. Any other questions on that or any of those committees, councillors? Very good. Thanks for bearing with us for that. As I said, councillors, if you want more information on that, we can provide that. We do have the whiteboard in there, which is just an opportunity to gauge levels of interest and a chance to have a conversation next week. We'll go through those. We can vary the terms and conditions of our council committees, but external ones, we may not have that ability to adopt more people. And as we indicate, the more people you have on the committee, sometimes it can be difficult to achieve a quorum. So we just will have a look through that and have those conversations next week. But certainly fill out the whiteboard for those ones you may be interested in. I do believe that brings us to a close. It does. Thank you, councillors. Thanks for your time this evening and your patience. Thank you, anyone joining online, and I'll declare this briefing session closed. Thank you.